where we have a microphone. I happen to have my phone sitting right next to me, and it can be activated from anyone that has access to that technology, and they can sit and listen to me here in my apartment in my personal conversation.
Would you even know it?
You wouldn't even know it. No. Now, systems like Echelon and Carnivore can do this, and the NSA, people with, in the alphabet agencies can do this. But there's also ways to do this illegally. People can find illegal packages and do this. But here we have a couple apps that are here's one app, for instance, that I think has been denied from the App Store. It's called the Recognizer app, and this is a facial recognition app that is been created by a company, and they applied for the App Store in Android and the iPhone. It's not in the store now, but this app is available. Probably can be used on cracked phones or jailbroke phones. And this app allows you to take a photo of someone, some stranger on the street,
right,
and then it uses facial recognition system and finds their Facebook page.
It's so that good?
You can go up to a stranger. It's not 100% accurate, but these apps are being
or it gives you maybe it gives you 6 possibilities or something.
Yeah,
it still gets you there.
You want to be sitting out in public somewhere and have some stranger take a photo of you or your girlfriend, and all of a sudden knows who she is. That's kind of Orwellian. This is some social implications here that are going to have to be discussed. How we're going to deal with this? This is pretty scary.
That is pretty scary. I did not know that. Why is it moving so fast, Mark?
Well, if you look at Moore's law. Moore's law is
every 2 years, right?
Yeah, it doubles. The computing power doubles every 2 years, and seems to be going pretty accurately. It doesn't seem to be deviating much from that. So here's another interesting iPhone app. These apps are all fairly new, and this is going to be something everyone's going to be hearing about in the mainstream soon. There's apps that listen to you and can tell whether you're alone, whether you're with other people, you're inside or outside, and they're creating algorithms on you. There's an app that is part of an alarm clock that actually listens to you sleep, and then it won't wake you up if you're still in your REM sleep, or it has this
amazing
software that determines whether you're ready to be awoke or whether it should leave you alone, and it just listens to you sleep. It can tell from whether you're snoring or you're rolling over, you're making noises, you're breathing heavily. It listens to you and then determines whether or not it's going to wake you up or not.
Without being overly religious here, it sounds like this is all the sign of the beast, doesn't it?
I think that it is, and whether there's definite theological implications for this, and even if somebody doesn't want to believe that, there's serious privacy issues. What's interesting is the mark of the beast is believed by many to be some sort of a RFID identifying chip that replaces cash and your traditional forms of ID. And the precursor to the RFID, it stands for Radio Frequency Identification Device, was actually the Multi-Technology Automated Reader Card, which stands for MARC, the acronym of MARC. Yes, it's the MARC card, the Mark of the Beast, which was created in the 1970s by the Department of Defense.
Jeez.
They actually implemented this and tested it on Fort Bragg to start the RFID process. And ironically, whether they named it this on purpose or whether it's some sort of just a cosmic decision, multi-technology automated reader card, the MARC card.
This is amazing. And is this happening all around the planet?
Well, it's primarily in the most developed countries. I mean, Asia, China has a lot.
China's got to have it, yeah.
Yeah, China in certain areas, Japan, and now here, I know in San Diego, I see the RFID readers at the cashier stands now. So there's a lot of RFID cards that are in the RFID tags are in your credit cards.
I was told one day that you will take all your groceries, and instead of the teller just taking them one at a time, the cashier one at a time, you just take your shopping cart, move it into position, and in one shot, it gets it all instantly, everything.
Yeah, that's coming soon. Again, some of this technology actually, again, it's a tool. Some of it is beneficial, some of it is not. That's why it needs to be watched. It needs to be regulated. We need to monitor this technology that's coming out. I mean, there is such horrific stuff coming out, George, that in my opinion, there needs to be devices created to detect some of this stuff that's going on that we can get into later. Some of the microwave auditory effect. I mean, there's patents. I have patents for devices that can literally put thoughts and voices in people's heads. Okay, this is a device that's created and patented, and so we're going to have to be dealing with that. But
they've tested it. They had to have tested it on people.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about the RFID tags at the grocery store. That's going to be a good thing. I don't want to unbag my groceries, and what that is they'll very soon they're going to replace all the UPC codes, the universal product codes, with the radio frequency identification tags. You're just going to you're just going to push your shopping cart through, and it's going to scan everything in there. You're not going to have to unbag it. Hey, I'm all for that.
Yeah, you'll bag it as you go along, right?
But there's also implications for that we need to be dealing with, because some of these tags are not going to be eradicated. They're going to be live all the time. So there's something called an Internet of Things.
Hold on for 1 second, Mark. We're going to come back. We'll talk more about this. Next hour, we'll take some calls with you on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, Mark Dice with us as well. Mark, tell us a little bit about the mind-reading machines that you think are out there.
Well, it's not even that I think that they're out there. They're out there, and there's essentially functional MRIs, which is fMRI, and it's an advanced lie detector system that can actually tell. It's called experiential knowledge. It can detect experiential knowledge in your mind, and so if you have seen or heard something, this device can go into your mind and actually identify that you've seen or heard something. Through a series of tests, they can get that part of the brain to activate, and the system can tell. So let's say, for example, you've seen a movie. They can show someone the movie who's attached to this fMRI, the functional MRI, and they can detect whether the person has seen that movie or not, based on the information that the brain is detecting as that it's something that the mind has already experienced, already seen, and this machine can tell that. Now, there's been a woman convicted in India of murder based on part of the testimony of this machine, based on the analysis of this machine. This is recent. This is in the last few years, and thankfully there are laws in place against most people being subjected to lie detectors and things, but this new system is so advanced that it can actually tell whether you have seen or heard something. And there are also systems functional MRI systems that can tell really what you're thinking about. And there's systems. There was a segment on 60 Minutes that demonstrated this. You probably find this online, and someone is sitting in this MRI, and they're told to think about a variety of objects, let's say a wrench, and the system can tell whether they're thinking of the wrench or a screwdriver or of a stapler. It goes into the brain, and it can tell.
Imagine the ramifications in court.
Yeah, and this is very scary, but also there's the mind reading, and then we can get into more of the mind manipulation, what are called psychotronic weapons, which fit into the Orwellian nightmare. And psycho means of the mind, so the mind weapons that literally put thoughts and sounds into people's heads. And there's some that think that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was actually subjected to one of these machines. There's some reports that at some point in his interrogation, Sheikh Mohammed,
rather than waterboarding him. Right?
Yeah, after the waterboarding, which they did 180 some times, they said that he prayed and Allah came to him, and then he started cooperating. So if that story is true, and if he really did say that and sort of have a change of heart, certainly possible that these prisoners are being given this test. Imagine if you're Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, you're in a prison cell, and using microwave auditory effects,
beaming it at you constantly.
Yeah, you think that God's talking to you in your own mind, and you don't know because the sound comes from in your own brain, and so they can trick him. Imagine. I'm just speculating. I don't like to theorize things, but this here is this is a patented device, and here I have a 1980s document called From PSYOP to Mind War. That was co-authored by Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, a really creepy guy. That's linked to satanic churches and a lot of allegations surrounding this man. And this guy wrote a paper. You can fully get It's floating around there on the web. It's authentic. And he wrote a paper describing how ELF waves can actually be broadcast to the masses, to us, to the public, and can either calm us down or can cause us to become excited. And that's horrible. That's creepy. Why would you do that to your own people? You know, this is what he calls that's the mind war. I mean, he writes right here, infrasound vibration up to 20 hertz can subliminally influence brain activity to align itself to delta, theta, alpha, beta wave patterns. I mean, these people know what they're talking about, and these devices are so sophisticated. So I think that people need to make devices to actually detect this. What are we going to do? Are they going? I mean, I'm not paranoid here, thinking that it's possible that they're broadcasting ELF waves to excite the population or to scare the population at certain times in certain cities to coincide with certain events. That's not paranoia. That's not a conspiracy theory. This is a patented device. There's documents floating around, like I said, from PSYOP to Mind War and others that say that this should be done and describe how it can be done and how it probably has been done. George?
Do you think it's possible that those people who have called into even this show and they said that they've heard voices, somebody's beaming something at me, and some people would laugh at them, others don't, that this could be happening to them?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the instances of the CIA unknowingly giving people LSD. You know, they would have prostitutes lure Johns in, they would give them LSD, and they would videotape them and analyze their trip on acid. These poor people had no idea what was going on.
No, they were out of it.
And, you know, going to prostitutes is wrong and horrible, but they certainly didn't deserve that. And so, yeah, it's certainly plausible. I mean, it's really foolish to say that it hasn't been tested on random people just to see how it works. And there's been a couple fairly incredible people that have come out and said that they've had this electronic harassment happening to them, and certainly a lot of the instances, I think, are some sort of psychosis. But I think that it would be foolish to dismiss all of them, especially when I'm looking at the patent numbers here. And it was patented to the United States Air Force, by the way, George. They're the ones.
The Air Force.
Yeah, they patented it in 2002. It was actually awarded to them, and yeah, it's a radio frequency hearing effect. I could read the abstract from the patent here, but it's such complicated language that only an engineer could figure out. But if you read through these patents like I have...
Does it say who developed it? Or was it done by us, government?
Yeah, I mean, here we have the Air Force, United States Air Force, first filed for the patent in 1996.